All right. Hey everyone, welcome to today's podcast. We're talking about the reason it's so hard to start a diet. And I think it's obvious, but I just want to point it out because sometimes when we look at obvious things with new eyes from a slightly different perspective, it becomes even more obvious how stupid it is. So the big reason that you don't want to start a diet ever is because it's wicked hard. Think about whatever diet you're going to do. It doesn't matter which one. It could be keto, intermittent fasting, Weight Watchers. It literally doesn't matter which one you pick. But you with a dieter mind go into it and say, okay, I'm going to follow it perfectly. You can pick a Mediterranean diet, which is a great diet. I'm going to do it perfectly. And you make it so difficult and overwhelming right off the start that you now at this point associate dieting with deprivation, difficulty, frustration. It's hard. I don't like it. It's boring. All of these negative emotions. So to put that in a nutshell, you associate weight loss dieting with pain. And this is the big reason why you don't want to diet right from the beginning. Now, the reason you don't want to diet now on top of all your experiences that you now associate not just dieting to pain, but you now also associate it to failure because you've tried starting a diet so many times and you have failed so many times with it that now you just assume that you're going to fail. And so even if you're able to get yourself to start it or to kind of approach it, it's not long before the doubts really, subconscious doubts creep up and say, what's the point? I'm never gonna be able to stick with this. And then even worse, even if you start to lose weight, even if you get to your goal weight, what you will find is that you're worried that you're going to put it back on because you know you're not going to be able to stick with it. So these are the big psychological reasons that you're not able to start or stick with a diet. I think you know what those already, but let's talk about what the solution is. And it's so obvious, it's right in front of you, but sometimes you don't see it. What you do to get yourself to start a diet is that you start slowly. Now, I know that's not exciting to you. And so that points out that you really need to focus on your patience. And we focus on the patience by reframing this whole process, not of one where you're going to lose weight and get to your goal weight, but one where you're going to lose weight, get to your goal weight, and then live at your goal weight for the rest of your life on near autopilot. That becomes the more complete, fuller goal. And once you set a goal that I want to live at my goal weight for the rest of my life, all of a sudden, the patience starts to show up more naturally because there is no rush. What's the rush? Whether it takes you 6 months to lose the weight, 3 months to lose the weight, or 3 years to lose the weight, who cares if you do it in a way that you're able to live with forever so that you can stay at your goal weight for the rest of your life. So it's a complete different reframing. And once we start thinking the longer term time frame, we kind of open ourselves up to the possibility of being much more strategic. And again, part of the strategy is starting slowly, building around ourselves, our own preferences, our own lifestyle, finding what works for us, and systematically getting good at living and eating like a thin, healthy person. And it's a skill set, just like anything else you want to learn. If you want to learn to play a musical instrument, you break it down into pieces, you practice those pieces, get good at them, and next thing you know, you've learned the instrument. Weight loss and weight mastery is no different. Once you master the core fundamentals of living at your goal weight, you master them and you just do them on near autopilot. Your weight is run on autopilot anyways. You're not happy with it, but your weight stays around a similar number. This is because it's been programmed into you to think, live, and eat that way. And now you just do it on autopilot. So when you approach your weight mastery with a focus on really mastering the fundamental skills that allow me to live in my goal weight forever on near autopilot, guess what? You get good at those things and then it becomes a real reality for you. But again, the starting point is what we all have to begin with. And the starting point is to make it easier for yourself. Maybe start by focusing on your worst eating habit and getting a handle on that. Maybe starting with small incremental behavioral shifts that aren't overwhelming that you can do easily. And then start to build that as your foundation, then build on top of that. And that is the path to success with most things in life. And it's also the path of success when it comes to your weight. So remember this, and I wish you the best with it. Thanks for that, Heart. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm gonna move my camera setup here. Is makes me chuckle. All right, there we go. Whoop, there we are. All right. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. I appreciate the heart. I always like little hearts on my head dancing around. What's up, Connie? I once cried real and bitter, painful tears over not being able to eat two T pizza on Atkins in early 2000s. I get it. I get it. It's crazy. I mean, I didn't even get into that, but I mean, the level of deprivation that people experience on diets is profound. And to think that that's not going to affect your results, it's just it's you know you're all such smart people, but the diets. This is what hypnosis does to some degree. Hypnosis is good and bad, it's just a process, but we can be hypnotized to believe real dumb shit. And when it comes to weight loss, believe me when I tell you, you've been hypnotized by that diet industry to believe a lot of dumb shit. I almost did a lesson today on the dumbest diets, and keto was right at the top of the list. But I chose not to today. But it's important that we take into account if you start crying because you're thinking like I can't eat pizza because you're on keto or whatever Atkins paleo whatever version, uh, that's probably not a good sign. There's no need. There's no need to give up pizza forever. It's so stupid. The diets again. You think the strictness of the diet simply because you're so impatient. And if you got rid of that impatience, you can eat carbs. Holy shit! You really think you can't eat carbs? You think you have to give up carbs to lose weight? It's so silly that it doesn't make any sense. But people are, again, they're so impatient that they can't even see past that. So, Connie, well, I'm glad you're in a better place now. Guess what? I ate pizza on my pleasure day that resulted in weight loss. Yeah, again, right there you go. So that's very interesting, isn't it, Connie? Now I don't even care next time I eat pizza because I can have it next pleasure day if I want to. Yeah, not only that, but now you relieve a lot of the pressure of it. I will tell you the fat, this folks on some level, but the best way to get yourself to really obsessively crave something is to restrict it completely. I can't think of a better way to get you fixated, obsessed on something than to say you can't eat that anymore. And that's what you're all doing on your diets. And it's meant to be that way. The diets aren't there to help you lose weight, folks. The diets are there as a Trojan horse for the food industry to put mashed potatoes in your brains when you think about weight loss. And if you don't believe me, Weight Watchers was owned by Heinz. Jenny Craig was owned by Nestle. Atkins Food Products owned by the same company as Carvel, Cinnabon, and Onions Pretzels. Slim Fast owned by the same company as Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream. These guys don't want you to lose weight. They want you to do your dumb diet shit so that you come back and eat all their food even more. And you never get off that diet train. So the faster you realize that, the quicker you can put dieting behind you and start to really focus on mastering your weight with sustainable plans that are built around you, that are comfortable for you, and that allow you to live at your goal weight for the rest of your life. So that's my message. Signs of insulin resistance. Signs of insulin resistance. There's a lot of signs of it. I mean, look, you can Google those up better than I could tell you what they are, and they're different for each person. Eric, any tips for staying on track while traveling and away from my normal healthy routine? Yeah, well, the first step, Eric, I would say is that is a real challenge. So that's my segue into maybe managing the expectations. Okay. I think we got to extra manage our expectations during holidays, vacations, traveling, because you're probably not going to eat as well as you do at home. Okay. And so I think we start with that framing, because I think if you try and eat as well away as you do at home, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And as soon as you make a mistake, you're going to feel like you totally failed. So I would manage expectations right from the start and say, I'm probably not going to eat as well. Let me at least do better than I've done before. So the first question is, are you traveling to a brand new place, or are you traveling to a place you've been to? Because if it's brand new, it's extra challenging. Although also you don't have your old associations either. If you've been there before, you can be more strategic. But regardless, I mean, it's 2024. You can look up wherever you're traveling to. You can look up where you're going to be and research, pre-plan some healthy places you can go to. A, markets to go get some food once you get there, and B, healthy restaurants where you can pick up food when it's quick. And that kind of leads to my next suggestion, is that you have some things with you as well. So I would ideally I love fruit. That's always my number one. Raw almonds and raisins, moving into like maybe Kind bars or Lara bars, things as more natural as possible. That's kind of the thing. And then, take it from there. But I think pre-planning is probably the most important piece. Bring some things with you so at least have some healthy stuff. But as soon as I got to where I was traveling to, I'd want to know where I like a healthier well, it doesn't matter. I mean, every place got healthy stuff now pretty much, but you go to a healthy place and then I would get some bananas. I really would I lean heavily on bananas and apples when I'm traveling because they're easy to keep. And so, even if, again, it's not about being perfect when you're traveling, but it's about being better than you've been in the past. And I think that comes down to having some core strategies you can rely on, and bananas fill that up sometimes. So those have been my tips. What's up, user 218? What's the most difficult part of your job? Oh, that's an interesting question. The most difficult part of my job is, I would say the most difficult part of my job is explaining to people who aren't in my program what I do in a simple, clear way. That's what I would say the most difficult part of my job is. And it's funny because even I get this all the time from my clients. I was working with a client. She lost 70 pounds and she ran into someone and they said, "Oh my God, what have you been doing?" And then she's like, "Well," and there's the problem. It's like what we do in the program is it's outside of the normal diet paradigm, you see? So even when I answer questions, a lot of times I can't just give you like a snippety snappity answer. A lot of times I got to come back and kind of reframe things in the new paradigm. And the paradigm difference primarily is weight loss, which is just about getting to your goal weight, and weight mastery, which is about living at your goal weight. And the concept of living at your goal weight, mastering your weight, is so outside of people's normal ways of thinking that it takes a lot of exposure to finally have it sink into people. And so I wish I had a way to magically explain what I do simpler. That's the most difficult part of my job. That's what I spend a lot of my time on, honestly. The coaching part's easy. The teaching people, taking people through the program, sharing my techniques, that part's easy. It's explaining to people that aren't yet into that paradigm what's going on here. And I'm always working on finding quicker, snappier ways to do that. So that's the most difficult part. What's up, Don? How's it going? Mental Health Matters. I love that name. I'm trying to lose weight, but I'm a very fussy eater and get so bored easily. Yeah, I get that. A lot of the eating, though, I think one thing that's really helpful when it comes to changing your eating is to realize that fussy eating and what you like for food is very malleable. I was thinking this yesterday. I was driving around and my kid's always like, "What's on Hits One?" We got serious, right? He says, "What's on Hits One? What's on Hits One?" And those songs are all like a minute and a half. It's like the second we change the station, 30 seconds. What's on Hits One? So I put it on, and the song comes on that he doesn't like. He never like, "Oh God, no, turn it off, turn it off." I said, "You know what? No, I'm not turning it off. I'm gonna make you listen to this because 3 more listens to this, and you're gonna like it." Right? And I was joking because I was thinking like that's what food's like. If you can get out of your mind that you like foods or don't like foods, and just start to experience them and relax, calm down, expose yourself to them a little more consistently, you can like a lot more foods. You can really change your palate pretty drastically. And I think knowing that is helpful, and then practicing that in small steps is really good too. So I think, and even I'm trying to lose weight, but I'm a very fussy eater and get so bored easily. I would start by implementing healthier foods in there and focus on that. So whatever you think healthy foods are, whole natural foods is where I would start with. I would start implementing those in. It doesn't have to be all the time, but maybe for lunch, you start eating carrots and hummus in addition to what you normally eat. Maybe at breakfast, you have some apple and peanut butter, whatever. Just start simple. Add some banana, add some apple in, add some carrots in, whatever you find easy to do. Start adding those in because our tastes are malleable and you can train them. So I've done that. I used to eat a very processed food diet, and now I eat a much more whole food diet. And there was a transition that happened there. I left, you've done this in your life. Some things you used to like, and now you don't really care for them. Some things you didn't like, and now you like them. So keep that mindset open. I think you'll find that there's a lot more flexibility in what you like and don't like than you thought. And ultimately, at the end of the day, who cares? You don't need a lot of flexibility. You just need to find the things that you like. Again, we want them whole and natural. And I think that'll help you. John says, more than 30% of the way to my goal in 10 weeks, no dieting, relaxed and happy. Isn't that funny, John? Yeah, 30% of the way. What a miracle. And for John, it's amazing. You hear me talk about John all the time. And he's so interesting because what a journey he's on. He's such a great example of someone having such a dieting mindset that's transitioned into really a weight mastery mindset. And the journey has been pretty amazing to watch. It's fun to watch for everyone, but especially for John. So that's amazing. Yeah, 30% down in 10 weeks is phenomenal. So what's he mean 30% down? Just real quick, folks. When you're measuring your weight loss, do not just say, oh, I'm 20 pounds down. I lost 10 pounds. I lost 30 pounds. Do not do that because that lacks context. And what will happen is it doesn't matter how much weight you lost, it'll always never feel like enough. And so what we're talking about with percentages is let's just say you're 200 pounds and you want to lose 40 pounds and you've lost 10 pounds. I wouldn't just say, oh, I lost 10 pounds. It doesn't mean anything. I would say I lost 25% of the weight I want to lose. I'm 25% of the way to my goal weight is a great way to frame it because now it gives you context of where you're at in the process. If we just say I lost 10 pounds, well, what's that mean? And very quickly, 10 pounds, if you lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks, it's exciting. If you lose 10 pounds over 2 months, it feels like it's a snail's pace and I don't know if I can keep going. But if you think to yourself, again, within that context of losing 40 pounds and you're starting at 200, 40 pounds would be 20% of your weight. It's a different percentage, but say you want to lose 40 pounds, you lose 10 pounds. That's 25% of the weight you want to lose. So you're 25% of the way to your goal weight. So again, these are just little mind hacks, but what they do is subconsciously, they reprogram how you're thinking of the whole process. And to me, that's what your whole success is going to come down to. Because if you just say, oh, I lost 10, I lost this, it just feels like you always have to lose and you don't get a sense of where you started from or where you're going to. So framing it that way is very, very helpful. Yeah, it's a great job, John, too. Yeah, it's exciting. It's very exciting. And the exciting part isn't that he's 30% of the way to his goal. I'm not excited about that. I am, but I'm not. That's a little tiny piece of it. The part that I'm excited is that he's doing it in a way that's sustainable. He's coming up with long-term strategies. He's weathered he was famous for the first 2 months of the year. He'd get in betting pools with other people and see who lose the weight the fastest. And whoever lost had to write a big old check to the political opponent that they didn't agree with. So there was a lot of that stuff going on. But what would happen is you do it for 2 months and then everyone cut the shit. They just go back to what they always did. So you lose a crazy amount of weight for 2 months, then put it all back on, redo it again the next year. Right? Sound familiar? So the difference for John here is that he's did it in a completely different way starting January 1st. Lost a decent amount of weight in January. It plateaued a bit in February, but he didn't freak out. And now here he is in March, right back on the wagon. But it's really not back on the wagon because he never got off the wagon. He's created a wagon that it's easy to stay on. That's what I'm trying to point out to you folks. You're so obsessed with the short-term weight loss that you don't realize the flip side of short-term weight loss is extreme shit that you can't keep up. So there is no fast permanent weight loss that I've seen. Not even with stomach stapling and gastric bypasses and that stuff. And that, right? You think that, but a lot of those people put the weight back on. Amazing. If you don't change your mindset, nothing's changing long term. Thanks 1 million for the travel thoughts and tips. Super helpful. Yeah, super, Erica. Again, thanks for that heart. So much of what it comes down to, regardless if it's traveling or how to eat with people I live with, or, everyone's got challenges. The secret is to not get stuck in a problem-oriented mindset. Because a lot of times the people in my program are all very smart, intelligent. They're usually perfectionist overthinkers. So they're clearly smart, successful people, but they're stuck in this area of their life. And the big reason why is that they use all their brain power to try and figure out the problem. But what they don't realize is that obsessively thinking about the problem makes the problem bigger. And so it's crazy that the shift is as simple as shifting over to what the solution is. And it's hard for perfectionists to let go of that, obsessively fixating on something and trying to figure it out. But once they do, and all that brain power goes towards solutions, there's so many solutions in front of you folks that you're just missing. And it's very, very helpful to start seeing them. Mario, does anyone have advice for feeling confident while trying to lose weight? Feeling fat makes me want to binge for some reason. Well, what's the reason? I think understanding that's really helpful. The reason feeling fat makes you want to binge is because feeling fat makes you feel like shit. It's different flavors. You might lack confidence, or you feel depressed, or you feel frustrated with yourself, angry with yourself, negative emotions. And when you feel negative emotions, what's the easiest way? What's the only way that you can rely on to feel better? It's probably at the top of the list is probably food. And we've been conditioned to think that way, folks. We live in a society where, we've really been conditioned to think of eating as our main emotional management strategy. So a lot of people walking around with very little ability to manage their emotions genuinely. and are relying on food to do it instead. So that's why that happens. So the feeling confident piece, you know, and this is an important conversation because a lot of people that are overweight say, well, once I lose the weight, then I'll feel confident, which is a horrible strategy because you can feel confident now. You can feel whatever emotion you want right now. Yes, you can. And it's just you have to know how to run your mind, but you can feel any emotion you can imagine right now. So I would suggest that you start to feel confident now and use that confidence to bring you towards your goal where you'll feel even more confident. But how do you feel confident? So you're not going to like this because you're going to think I'm being snarky, but I'm not. But confidence, the confidence you'll feel when you lose all the weight and go out and buy your favorite outfit and feel like $1,000,000 with how you look is the same confidence to some degree. Now it's a higher level, but it's the same confidence mentally, emotionally, physiologically as the confidence you feel that you know you can tie your shoe. I know you don't believe that. The fact that you know you can write words, right? We used to not be able to write words and now you can write them easily. It's just second nature. So confidence is confidence. That's what I'm trying to tell you. But how do we bring this into the weight loss piece? I think that starts with looking at your behavior. And this was the big thing. I look back at this as a miracle because it's not easy for most people. But for me, when I started losing weight, my focus was I'm going to focus on the behavior because if I can change my behavior consistently, I know my weight's going to change. And so I really fixated on the behavioral pieces. And so the first thing I focused on was not eating at night. I was like, if I can handle on this, I know my weight's going to change pretty dramatically. I know it. And so I kept working on how can I, again, at first kind of moving the window between when I ate, when I went to bed and make that bigger, and then eventually to not eating at all at night. And I'd do good and bad different nights. I'd always learn though, and I always pay attention to it. And that gave me a lot of confidence. So you don't feel confident because your way of trying to lose weight is these wild, swings. In baseball, they would say you're swinging for a grand slam every time you're up at bat, and you're whiffing most of the time. And so now when you think about weight loss, you feel like a failure right from the beginning, but that's because of the way you're thinking about losing weight. You're thinking about losing weight the way you always do it, which doesn't ever work for you, but you keep trying it. So again, I can't say it enough, but if you approach this in a different way, you can very quickly start stacking up wins that make you feel confident. And it may be drinking more water. It could be maybe 2 nights a week, I'm going to work on not eating at night. It could be I'm going to eat a salad twice a week. It doesn't have to be big stuff, but you set yourself up for success. So you start to feel confident. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And you build on that. I'll tell you the worst way to set up confidence is to say you're going to be keto. You're going to start your keto plan tomorrow. So, what would make you feel less confident if you try and do a keto plan tomorrow? Or intermittent fasting if you hate it. If you love intermittent fasting, that's a different story. But if you hate it, what would make you feel less confident, right? Because you have no confidence you can do it. Do you understand that? When you have confidence, oh shit, yeah, I could drink some water every day. Oh yeah, I could eat a salad, for lunch 3 days a week. Now all of a sudden you set yourself up for success, you start to feel confident. Hope that makes sense. Where the hell am I? As you all know, I get lost in these questions. Sarah says the program is like an onion. There's so many layers. True story, right? It is true, Sarah. I wish it wasn't like that. I'm thinking about that right now. I'm thinking about breaking the program up into like smaller pieces or something. Cause I'm thinking it's too much to people to wrap their head around, Anyways, I don't know. That's another story. Don says, every pound I lose, I start living at that weight too. Eye on the big goal, but living each goal. Yeah, exactly. That's a whole other one. I say that sometimes. I'll be like, well, what if it took you 2 years to lose all the weight to get to your goal weight? I know people go, oh, but that a year from now, you'd be halfway there probably. There is nothing magical about that goal weight, folks. I got to tell you, it's awesome in a lot of ways, but it's not this magical thing. Jesus Christ, don't you know that? You've been at your goal weight most likely. Maybe you haven't. There's some people that haven't, but the vast majority of people at some point, at least a couple times usually, have gotten to their goal weight. And then they put the weight all back on. It's like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think is going to happen when you get there? It's weird. Enjoy the process. You don't enjoy the process. I know I mean, I know why this is because people hate dieting, so they have to hold out. There's this magical thing that once they get to their goal weight, everything's gonna be amazing. Well, it could be if you do it the right way, but if you're doing keto to get to your goal weight, I can't think of a more anxiety inducing process than that. God, keto's a stupid diet. I don't mean to get, folks, I don't even care anymore. I don't care. If you're on keto, I mean, you got to reflect on it. What am I going to do? Sit here and say it's great? It's not. And it's, don't even ask about keto. I'm just thinking about I was researching diets. I'm just like, every time I look at it from a different angle, I'm just like, good Lord. But Don, that's great. Yeah. Every pound you lose, you live at that goal, that weight. That's part of the process of changing your self-image as well. Y'all dieters, it's like you lose crazy amounts of weight, but you still feel like an overweight person. You never change your self-image. You never create the self-image of being a thin and healthy person. You just feel like an overweight person who's lost a bunch of weight for a little while. And then you're just in your mind, you're waiting till when you put it back on. You know that? I know that because I've had so many conversations with people about this. Lacey says, Lacey CC, I love that. It's spiritual, emotional, physical, and entire psychic change. He helps the mind change. Yes, thank you. That's exactly what I do. 80s on 80s, my jam. Yeah, there we go. 80s on 8. Me too. My kids are always they're getting older and they're like mad at me now because I listen to yacht rock in the 80s like every morning of their whole lives. And so it's like it's so funny to me because they've grown up with my musical like brain. They've grown up musically in the 70s and 80s just like I did. So it's funny. So yeah, so now he's like he wants to listen to now he goes to school. My daughter never really cared much, but at least she's a little mad about that. She doesn't know any songs. She goes to dance. 80s on 8. I love 80s on 8. Like it starts to smell good again. Not sure what that one is. Small shifts in our own identity. Yeah. Small shifts in our own identity. That's what the process is. I'm telling you, it's not just losing weight. It's transforming how you think of yourself, your identity. Tips for staying on track while fasting for Ramadan. Yeah, I mean, I think when you're fasting, when you're doing something intense, the real secret is to stay really motivated. And I think, for Ramadan, it's really, I would say, any like spiritual reason, I think it helps to just really steep yourself in the spiritual reasons you're doing this. Why is this important to you? Why is Ramadan important to you? And really focusing on why this matters. And I think that helps because when it clearly matters to you, you're doing it. But how motivated you feel and how easy or hard it is comes down to what you're focusing on in your mind, like what you keep saying to yourself. And if you start filling your brain with all the reasons you want to fast and it's important to you as a Muslim, then I think that's going to make it easier. If you start letting go of that and you start thinking about all the food you're missing out on, and it's going to be harder. So yeah, the mindset piece of where you're keeping your mindset most of the time is going to have a huge impact on how easy or difficult it is to stay on track during Ramadan. But Hannah Malone, is 130 pounds too heavy for a 25-year-old 5'5" female? I could never answer that for you because everyone gets to decide what they want to weigh. I think choosing your weight, what you want to weigh, is really one of the most personal decisions you get to make. And I could never tell you, I don't know, because I'm not you. So I think whatever goal weight you all choose, I think you should choose the weight that gives you the best quality of life. And that means we can't just choose a number. We have to take into account how it feels to live and eat, to live and eat the way we need to achieve that number. So if you're choosing a really low number that you weighed when you were 18 and now you're 50, and it takes a real little bit of eating and a lot of stress to live that lifestyle, what's the point? So I don't know. I don't know 100. I don't know what you have to do to maintain 130 pounds. I don't know how you feel at 130 pounds. So there would need to be a lot more context. So all the other numbers, that don't mean anything to me. As long as a person's not, I think once you start getting the BMI chart in normal situations, sure, you're not a bodybuilder or have some other, outlier condition. I think the BMI chart's a pretty decent place to ballpark to kind of get a sense of where you're at. And if you're moving into the obese range, I think it's warning signs, that's a problem. But anything other than that, even overweight range, that's not really correlated with health as far as I've seen in studies. It really just comes down to your personal opinion, what you want to weigh, where you feel best. So I could never really answer that. It's up to you to decide that. I'm blessed to have found you. The anxiety around food is gone. Relationships are better than ever. Yeah, for sure. Right, Jody? So, yeah, that's a key piece is the emotions that go along with, well, I mean, the emotions that go along with food anyways. And then there's the emotions that go along with food when you're trying to diet and lose weight, which just makes it even worse. And so, yeah, that's what we deal with in Program Yourself Thin is really calming down and relaxing and being at peace with the foods we're eating, the way we're living and how we look and feel, you know? Um, Hannah says, I've lost 30 pounds and gained 10 back, but now I'm maintaining at 130 on autopilot. Is that healthy? I mean, if you're able to maintain on autopilot, so that's what I'm trying to say. Let me put it in a different way. So it's like if, I've lost 50 pounds, 30 years, 12 years ago, I put 25 pounds on, but it was during a very stressful period of my life. And so I took 15 pounds off, but I raised my goal weight by 10 pounds. I could have got it down another 10 pounds, but it would have taken a lot more effort and energy at that point in my life. So I raised the goal weight to fit with what was relatively easy for me. Because again, my weight's relative to how easy it is because it's about my quality of life. We all know, I mean, you could have a shitty quality of life and get your weight really low. What do you do? Why? What are we doing? You got to give that some thought. I see a lot of people walking around as if if that scale finally says a number, everything's going to magically be great. Well, if you hate what you're doing to get that number so low, that weight's not going to make up for a shitty quality. You hate what you eat. You can't go anywhere because you can't be around food. So it's going to work. So to me, again, it's not up for me to tell you if what you're doing is it's healthy enough. I mean, it's certainly a healthy range. Let's put it that way. Outside of any, kind of outlier conditions, 5'5", 130, it's certainly in a healthy range. And if you're able to live that way on autopilot, I would say that's kind of a sweet spot. So he says, I get it too. Those romance movie scenes where they're crying with ice cream and doing that feels like validation. Yeah. Whoops. I got to my goal weight working retail, had no stress, on my feet 24/7, had time off during the day, and never gained or lost at all. Nice. The past 2 years. My mom put me on keto years ago and it lasted 2 months. I couldn't even eat a carrot. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's I always say this, any diet. I think I especially hate keto because I know this guy and I think he's a world-class asshole. And he runs a keto group. And I just think he's such I can't stand this guy. And this is an outlier because I like most people. This guy I think is a complete pompous asshole who doesn't have any clue what he's talking about. Don't mean to talk like that. That's not the best look. But anyways, so I especially he really signifies keto for me. On top of the fact that it's a stupid diet. Like any diet that's got you questioning whether you should eat fruits and vegetables, I think you really got to take a step back and reflect, But yeah, tangy brain. Here's the good news, I guess. At least it doesn't work now, so you can avoid it because people recycle. Oh my God. The keto thing, you know what I mean? It's always something. The keto, paleo, Atkins, it's been around. God, it's like what? Like those horror movies with the guy that keeps getting killed, but he keeps coming back, like Jason or whatever, the guy from Halloween, Michael Myers. That's what the keto diet's like. It's like it just keeps coming back in some new shittier form and dumber form. And then yeah, so that's what I think of that. Now that being said, oh shit, I forgot the microphone in here. I work with people doing keto in my program because I'll help people do whatever they want to do. It's not up for me to decide. If someone wants to do keto, I'll help them do it. I just think it's silly and it's very ineffective. Oh, I know you. Joe, I lost a bunch of weight on. Yeah, you lost a lot of weight until you couldn't do it anymore. And then you put all the weight back on though. So I'm not arguing that you won't lose some weight doing it. I'm saying you won't stay on it long and keep the weight off is what I'm saying. But yeah, that's too bad, Tangy Brain. But at least she had a really cool name. I like Tangy Brain. That's one of the cooler handles I've seen. I think our sons are about the same. Our sons are about the same age, 15. Mine plugs his music in the car to school. Oh, okay. My kid still likes my music. I let him listen. I like new music. It's funny. He's 12. And then my daughter is 18. So they're kind of right in the middle. No, it sounds like you need returns. I'm 5'3" and 150. You got an extra inches of literal bone. Be kind to yourself. And he's right. Tips staying on track during Ramadan to not overeat. I think I just did that one. Hannah says, thanks for your great answers. You're welcome, Hannah. Huge lesson, goal weight is not the end all. Yeah. Find where you feel good and live a little and can live a little. Yeah. Again, it's about quality of life. I always like to preface it by this statement, which I love. And I know it's a little triggering, but that's the point of it. Oh, what's up, Joy? Uh, is that I don't want to be the healthiest person I can be. And neither do you. You don't want to be the healthiest person you can be. If you want to be the healthiest person you could be, you wouldn't be watching me right now because you wouldn't be on a screen. So we don't want to be the healthiest person we can be, but we want to be somewhere in the middle. Or obviously we want to trend towards healthier, clearly, but we don't want to be the healthiest person we can be. We don't want to be the thinnest person we can be. We got to take into account the full picture. And I think that's such a beautiful way to look at things because it's like a doorway you step through into a reality. And I think a lot of diets and dieters, they're not in reality. They're just saying dumb shit that they'll be able to do for a little while. And everything I'm talking about is built on long term. It's really not about the weight. The weight comes into play, though. I do think the weight matters because I don't think your quality of life is good if you're 100, 150 pounds overweight or you're dealing with health issues that are directly related to your weight, your eating, your lifestyle. I don't think that's a high quality life either. So again, I think there's a sweet spot. Where's the best return on investment for you at your weight? That's how I think you should go about it. But you got to look at the whole thing. And I think a lot of people walking around thinking that, well, if I get to this number, everything's going to be amazing. Well, not if you're miserable, not if you hate it. Again, you would never start keto again if you looked at things this way. Because again, and the romanticizing of failed diets is the national pastime in America. But this idea that, well, if I got to lose weight, I got to do keto. Yeah, if you're going to lose weight, and then what happens after a month or two? Well, I struggle to stay on it. Oh, but when I stay on it, I lose all the weight. Yeah, well, what happens though? Eventually, the last 15 times you did it, nah, I can't stay with it. So why would you stay with it the next time you did it? I don't know. I'll magically be another person. I'll live in fantasy land and think weird thoughts that aren't reality. So yeah, we got to look at the full picture, John says, am I going to have to look at calories at some point as I move down? My caloric needs will change. Well, John, again, you could look at calories if you want to get real technical with it. And that's one way to do it. But me personally, I never did that. So as you start stabilizing your eating, that's what we do in Program Yourself Thin. We stabilize the eating, structure it. So it's stable and consistent. And again, we have clean days and pleasure days, but they all trend towards consistency and having structure to them. And once you have structure and stability in what you're eating, clean days, pleasure days, and you do that for a month, 2 months, and you start to stabilize and your weight stabilizes, now you can start counting calories if you want to add that extra layer to it. But to me, it's like, why not look at what you're consistently doing? Just use your common sense and say, okay, where would be the easiest place to cut some calories out? And so, maybe I'll start to intentionally I'll cut 10% out of dinner, see what happens. So again, you could go the calorie route if you want to, but it's not my cup of tea. And I feel like it's just adding a whole nother layer that's unnecessary. I think if you stabilize your eating and know what you're eating, and eat consistently, I think there's a good chance you're going to be able to commonsensically say, okay, where can I cut some calories out? And we'll talk about that. And then if you do that and it doesn't work, you can always go with count calories. I'm not against counting calories. I just think it's tedious. It's unsustainable for most people, and it's unnecessary if you stabilize your eating and then just use common sense to cut out the things that are higher calorie behaviors. Indy says, I've lost 61 pounds over the last 14 months. I feel amazing. Appreciate your lives. Wow, that's awesome, Indy. You're welcome. Great job using whatever you did and whatever I'm talking about. That's wonderful, wonderful results. 14 months is very impressive, because now you're in it. You're with it. Great job. Hermark, I'm so stressed out about my binge eating. I don't restrict myself at all, yet I keep binging. Okay. So it's probably an emotional thing, most likely. Hey, listen, it could also be associative. I don't talk about this a lot in here, but, your subconscious mind runs like Pavlov's dogs, it's very associative. It just links things together. So sometimes things are just basically just habits that we do for no reason. Other than it feels right to do them at that time, and to not do them feels weird. But I don't restrict myself at all. And yet I keep binging. Yeah, that's interesting. It could be hyper palatable food you can't stop yourself with. I would bet it's mostly emotional. That's what I think. If I had to guess, I would say it's emotional. So clearly you've listened to me before because you went right with the I don't restrict, because I always say the binging, usually the core of that is over restricting or something emotional. So I know you probably listened to me before because you pulled out right away. I'm not over restricting, but you didn't bring up the emotional part. So if you're still here, do you think it may have anything to do with emotions in any way? Let me know. I have so much weight to lose that it's overwhelming to start. Any tips? Yeah, I get that. It can feel frustrating that way, but in reality, it's no different than what I would suggest to anyone, and it's no different than what I do for myself. And I know I'm at my goal weight. So you say, well, yeah, but listen, so what? I mean, I say that I have obese clients, morbidly obese clients, and I say, listen, we start every day the same. It's what are we going to do today? If I ate like they ate before they worked with me, I'd be right on the path to being obese. But I don't eat that way, and I look at every day as every day is kind of a fresh start. And so, but it's not a fresh start because I know what I'm going to do, but it's like I look at you who may have a ton of weight to lose, and I look at me who's right at my goal weight, and I look at like we both start at the same point each day when we wake up. The question is, what are you going to do today? And I have a completely different plan. I have a completely different strategy, a completely different mindset in my head than you have. So the point I'm trying to make is that even if you had 5 pounds to lose, you still, it's not about the weight loss. It's about how you're living. It's how you're thinking, living, and eating that's going to control your weight. And so what I'm saying is you don't focus on the weight loss piece. You focus on the behavior piece, the mindset piece. I don't know. Sometimes people say, I don't know. That's not that motivating, but your weight's just a reflection. Your weight's a reflection of your habitual behaviors. And so if you change your habitual behaviors, your weight's going to change. But if we just focus on the weight, okay, I'll give you the story. You know, the kid runs into the karate dojo and says, how long will it take me to get a black belt if I come in every week? And the karate master goes, it'll take you 5 years. And the kid goes, well, what if I come in twice a week? He goes, it'll take you 10 years. He goes, what if I come in every day? He goes, it'll take you 20 years. So what's that story mean? It means the more we fixate on the outcome, the less energy we have to fixate on the process that gets us skilled to get the outcome. And so with weight loss, the more you fixate on the weight loss, the less energy there is to master the strategies that create the weight loss. And so in that situation, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not motivated by my weight loss at all, is what I'm trying to say. So whether I had 200 pounds to lose or whether I'm exactly my goal weight, I would approach today exactly the same way. If I was in your spot and I had a bunch of weight to lose today, I would live exactly the same way that I'm about to live today. So it's not about the weight loss piece. It's about the process you use to create that. And the more you get obsessed with the process, you're going to get better results, but also it kind of sidetracks this challenge you have that you're so fixated on losing weight that it feels overwhelming. You know, but really what it comes down to is changing the behavior. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that's helpful. And I would suggest, if you haven't yet, go to my bio, click the link at the hypnosis session, and watch the video I made for you. That'll help you a lot. Yeah. Jade, I do too, but I've never, Connie says, I do too, but I never experienced anything like what Jim is offering. Enjoy the process. Yeah, absolutely. It is enjoying the process because it's just getting good at something. I don't know. It's like this. If you want to play the piano, I took a Tai Chi class today. This is probably the best example of this. So it's like we did the Tai Chi class, and I'd done Tai Chi back years ago, and I loved it. And it was pretty good. It's a different form, so so I was learning new stuff, but it was slow as all hell. So when we start something new, it is hard. The impatience is a challenge. If I want to learn to play an instrument, but I've done this with a lot of things, and I'm on the other side of it. And so even when I do new things, I've got all the wisdom of getting through that part. And I know when you start doing something, you suck at it, it's frustrating. But you just have to relax and calm down and have faith in the fact that if you keep focusing on it, you're going to get results. It's going to work. So I hope that makes sense. I've lost about 140 pounds and been plateauing for a year, only 5 more until I'm not overweight. Wow. Congrats. 140 pounds. Very, very impressive. And the better part to me is that you've been plateauing for a year. I think that's wonderful. Because again, remember folks, what we're looking for here is not to lose weight. It's to hit the ultimate plateau. That's the real goal. The ultimate plateau, which is to stay at your goal weight forever. So that's super. But I hear you saying, I'm being a little bit of a Weisenheimer. Because I know you want to get more down. But here's the good news. You've been plateauing, which I just look at as maintenance. So I always think of plateaus as an opportunity to practice maintenance. And you've been practicing for a year, which is great. So whatever you've been doing, I would look at what you're doing, and I would again strategically cut maybe 10% of my calories. That was what I'd be looking for. I'd eyeball it. So I know your habits. What could you do that would, consistently cut 10% of your calories out a day in the easiest way possible? And so I would look at that. And then yeah, get those 5 off until you're not overweight. But that, yeah, I will tell you this, and now I'm going to say this, even though me personally, like I want to be in my normal weight range for the BMI chart. Like it's very important to me. So there's that. But the other side of it is that being 5 pounds in the overweight range, that BMI chart, when it gets to, we're splitting hairs. I mean, it's a guide. That 5 pounds, you know what I mean? Like in that sense, but I got you. You've done so much and you want to get those 5 pounds off. I understand that too. And I respect that. And I think it's so funny. I mean, I work with so many people, people that invest to work with me. And it's funny that, I don't know, on average, it's like 30% of them are like 5 pounds away from their goal weight, 10 pounds away. People like, how the shit are they, investing with you to work with it just for that? But sometimes that getting so close to a goal and then just hovering so close is such a mindset thing, for so many reasons. But you're obsessed with that 5 pounds down. But my question to you is here's what I think is happening on some level mindset wise, is that I think this applies to any of you all that are 5, 10 pounds away from your goal weight and just can't seem to get there. I think a lot of it comes down to your mindset in that, again, you know how to be an overweight person and you know how to be a dieter. And I think you're dieting yourself down, and now you're keeping yourself 5 pounds above so you can stay in diet mode. Because I think you're scared to shit that as soon as you stop dieting and get to your goal, you don't know what to do. Because you never learn how to think like a thin and healthy person. Don't you think this is fascinating? I find this fascinating, and I hang my hat on. I believe this 1000%. Because the people I see, the psychographic of a person that I've worked with that's 5, 10 pounds away from their weight, they're perfectionists. They're extremely hard on themselves. All they do is think about their weight. They exercise. They really focus on their eating. And then they binge just enough to be 5, 10 pounds overweight. And I swear it's just a strategy to stay in a diet mindset, because they don't know what else they would do. They're worried if they're not dieting, they're going to put the weight all back on. So anyways, this comes back to the idea that you weigh what you want to weigh. And ultimately it comes down to your self-image and your identity. And if you identify as an overweight person, it's going to be hard to live at your goal weight. So your self-image and your identity and shifting that, in my mind, it has to be part of the process. But anyways, I hope some of that puts a light bulb on. Yeah, her mark after a binge episode. Again, I'm curious to know if it's an emotional thing, if you think. Yeah. No, no more her mark. So if her mark would have answered that. It's funny what people, again, I love my work because it's like puzzles. But the funniest part of the puzzles is that a lot of times the people that come to me, they're super smart. It's not an intelligence thing at all. It's a human thing that we miss some of the most obvious shit sometimes. And yeah, it's funny to me that Hermark, if you're still here, I think it's interesting that you right away said it. It's got nothing to do with restricting. I don't know why I'm binging, but then we totally skipped the emotional part. So yeah, if you're here, I'd love to hear what the emotions may be. Because I got to feel, and then sometimes when we start getting close to the real thing, so all of a sudden people get scared and don't want to talk about that. That's why I love coaching. I love it with a passion, because it's very rarely like, it's never me like helping you do something you already know how to do, as you can imagine. It's usually like some huge ass blind spot you have that you're just totally missing. And once you see it, it like instantly changes everything. Or it's some strategy that's right in front of you. You just can't see it for whatever reason. So that's interesting to me that Hermark said that and then disappeared maybe. Wasabi, what's up? Hi, Jim. It's Ramadan. I'm still holding strong, not binging after fasting. Super job. Yeah, that's a challenge. I would say like the Ramadan, or I work with people that fast for different spiritual reasons. And that fasting is intense. I hate it. I hate fasting. I remember when I was a kid growing up, we used to do like no meat, and that felt like a big deal. And then I got older, I'd do like real fasting, like day longs fastings. Holy crap, it's intense. I didn't like it personally because now this was just it wasn't really spiritual reasons. I was wanting to see how it would feel and stuff. So I know if you're doing it for spiritual reasons, it's the other thing. But I think the point I'm trying to make with, even if you're doing it for spiritual reasons, it's really disruptive. Even if you get through it and you're okay with it and you succeed with it, it has repercussions, collateral damage in a way. And what I found with the fasting is I kind of dreaded it. I think about food, eating, how I didn't want to do it. I would do it. I didn't like it. But then the biggest thing afterwards, I'd be hungry. I'd be focused on food a lot. I'd be really hungry. And my eating after fast usually was worse than before it. So again, I'm not saying this to give you negative suggestions, but it's just something I noticed. Again, fasting's intense and extreme. We can't just look at fasting as when we're fasting, though. There's going to be an impact before and after it as well. So, take that for what it's worth. But I think the more you recognize and are aware of, I think the better, John says, I've done things like reduced cheese and less dressing in my salads. It broke my plateau. There we go. And that, by the way, I just want to mention this because I'll tell you what I hear now. And I don't believe anything anymore. I am a full-on conspiracy theorist with the weight. I fucking am. I don't even care anymore if someone's got a PhD in their name and all they do is study weight. I swear I don't even believe anyone anymore. And one of the things I don't believe lately is this idea of metabolic adaptation and this idea that you need to cut drastic amounts of calories out for you to trigger the weight loss. That if you only cut 10, 15% out, you won't lose weight. And that you got to cut drastic amounts out. And then you figure out, you can come back up to your maintenance level. And it's like, I've looked into this. I'm not a science brain, so I could just be missing something. I miss things all the time. Okay. So there's that. But then I can't take away my own experience personally and with my clients where I see them making little tiny changes to their calorie intake, 10%, cutting some dressing out, a little less cheese. It's small little things and they lose weight. And so this idea that if you don't cut out a drastic amount of weight, that you just won't lose weight is so weird to me. And I don't know. If someone understands that and could explain it to me, I'd appreciate it. And then if they could explain why me and my clients were able to cut down tiny amounts of weight or calories and lose weight, how does that work all in together? So if anyone knows that, please let me know how that works. 100%. And I've been obese since I was 4 years old and have never been a normal weight. Yeah, I get that. But I want you to understand, and I don't know what that face means. It's like, I was going to say smiley face, but it's not a smiley. It's like is that like a trance face, like a spiralized or something? Congratulations. I think the fact that I don't want you to call it a plateau. Don't stop calling it a plateau. I want you to start thinking of it as maintaining. You have maintained 140-pound weight loss over a year. That is tremendous. That's the most impressive thing you've done. That's more impressive than the weight loss piece, in my opinion. Okay. So such a great job, because now we're talking about, for you, I've been obese since I was 4 years old. This is a big challenge. This is one of the biggest challenges you're dealing with, it is to really internalize an identity of being at a normal weight. And I want you to realize that you are now at a normal weight. Just because the BMI, you're 5 pounds over that overweight thing, that doesn't mean a lick of shit. It doesn't mean anything. It's just gradients. They just draw lines and arbitrarily to some degree. Please understand that. And just as easily, I can redo the BMI charts. You're within a 5 pound margin of error. You could be normal weight. So I want you to take the stress off and enjoy what you have done, because I know that 5 pounds down is going to move you in that range. That's going to feel amazing, but there's really not much difference. Other than that, if there was no such thing as a BMI chart and you were just so proud of your 140 weight loss and now you're living as this person, I think that you can let yourself start feeling good, because now it's about really normalizing being at this normal weight and as this identity of yourself. Okay. So don't put it off by saying nothing magical happens when you lose that next 5 pounds. It's cool to be in the normal range. I'm not saying keep that as a goal, but that's a goal for me. So I'll be clear. Like a couple of years ago, I wanted to lose 5 pounds. I gave myself the summer, and it was a long summer. I gave myself 4 months to lose 5 pounds, because all I care about is losing weight long term. I could lose 5 pounds quickly doing something drastic. I would never do that. What's the point? So I systematically cut little things out, and it took me about 4 or 5 months to cut the 5 pounds down. They were gone. Okay. So I want you to normalize at the weight you're at now. And again, you've been there for a year, so okay, fine. But start to think about those 5 pounds. What little thing can I do? And slow down, pump the brakes, man. You've done this. Congratulations. Bask in a lot of that goodness, which is going to be weird for you. That's its own thing too. But start to focus and work on identifying as a normal weighted person. Okay. H-Bomb, how's it going? I've been up 5 pounds for years and never thought of it this way. So smart and true. I love your content. Thank you very much. I'm glad. I know no one thinks about stuff this way because we're constantly, fed a bunch of bullshit in this society when it comes to weight. And that's because there's a lot of money being made off us being overweight, unhealthy, unhappy. C says, I'm 15 pounds away. I want to get rid of it, but also, like you said, kind of scared. Been losing for 2 years. Wow. Okay. Great job. Again, when I see 2 years, that makes me so happy. That really makes me so happy. And keep listening to me because I will make it mean more. Dieters can only think about weight loss, but I think about time frames. So when I see 2 years, I know you've internalized this process and you've got real great mindset, lifestyle, and eating behaviors in place. But please, by the way, see if you're not in trancy eyes there, that's what I'm calling you. Put a name, that's what I call you, trancy eyes. And I don't even know if that's what trans eyes, but please go to my bio, get the hypnosis session I give you, which I think is helpful. But more importantly is please watch the video I give you right after that. It's about 25 minutes, but it could be the most important video you've ever watched when it comes to really mastering your weight. And you've done so much work that I'm telling you, what am I going to do? I feel like I'm the only person that talks about self-image and weight. I'm sure there's other people that do it. I've never heard them. So I'm telling you, every weight loss thing I've ever seen ever is always about how to lose weight. I am one of the only people I hear talking about how to live at your goal weight. And that's where you're at now. It's a different game. It's a different game than weight loss, mindset wise, lifestyle wise, and eating wise. So please, please, please watch that video because it'll give you at least a general context for how to live as a thin, healthy person. And that's where you guys are now. Okay. So please, please watch that because it's going to be very helpful. And with all the work you've done, now it's really deeply important that you do the inside work of shifting your mindset, which a big part of that's your self-image, your identity. There's a maintenance piece that I talk a little bit about in there. And so that's the key thing, but great job. That's very, very impressive. Nuke Luna, how's it going? There's her mark. Please make a podcast. Good news. I got a podcast. It's called Program Yourself Thin. And not only do I have a podcast, I got a podcast with almost 300 episodes. I do one every day, weekday. And I'm almost at 100,000 downloads. It's pretty exciting. It's a milestone that might pass today or tomorrow. That's pretty exciting too. So yeah, go check it out. It's on all the podcast platforms. But I guess if you listen to any of them, go listen to Apple. I guess Apple's probably my biggest one. And they'll leave me a review. I'd appreciate it. Nuke Luna, I had a bad day today. I feel like I ate too much and feel so guilty. How do I cope? Well, first of all, you take that guilty feeling, put it in a gun and aim it at the moon and shoot it away because that guilt isn't going to help you at all. Feeling guilty helps when we know what we're doing. Like when you know what to do and you feel guilty and you get yourself to do it using guilt, I guess that's an okay thing. But that's not the problem here. Folks, when you make bad decisions, it's not because you don't feel guilty enough. It's because you don't have a good enough strategy. So you need to learn something, So again, in Program Yourself Thin, that's what I think. I don't know. Sometimes I think, like I was talking about this earlier. Sometimes I think about Program Yourself Thin because I sell it right now. Originally, I was only selling it with my group coaching program. That was $1,000. And I know that's out of a lot of people's range. Then I sold it for $300. And I said, okay, you can get the entire program. The coaching's not with it, but the whole program's there. And that's $300. Then I think, should I break it up even more and just teach like the Program Yourself Thin, the technique? Just break that off. Because that technique is so powerful. It's like nothing you've ever seen. But what it is the redo rehearsal technique. And the redo technique is like, just like this situation here, when you eat too much. See, when you think you're going to lose weight, in the back of your mind, you think you're going to lose weight by starting on day one being perfect. And then you're going to try and see how long you can be perfect for. I think that's the stupidest shit ever. Instead, I'd like you to start where you're at. And then let's just get better. But how do you get better? You need you need some ritual. You need something you do consistently to, let me put it in a different context. If you ever watch football, they play games on Sundays usually. And they always call it like Monday morning. They call it Monday morning cornerback, but they call it Monday morning game film time, right? They'll go and watch film of the game. They'll watch it and they'll learn from it. They'll learn from their mistakes and get better. Do you have any process to get better when you make mistakes? No. That's what the redo technique is. And so you use the redo technique every night. It takes 30 seconds and you get better. You learn from your mistakes, then you get better. And then you do the rehearsal technique and you prepare tomorrow to be better. And it's like, that's a key part of the whole process. So yeah, anyways, you go back in time, learn something. Why'd you eat too much? There's a reason why you ate too much. It's not because you're a bad person. So the guilt is just unnecessary and ineffective. It's a waste of time and energy. John says, my overweight clothes fit. Scary. I identify as big, but not at my holy shit gonna weight. My holy shit weight anymore. I'm scared to get overly comfortable. Yeah, I get that, John. That's just part of the process. And that just takes some time. The getting comfortable piece, I still get little flashes of that, so it's that way. So don't worry about that. You get more and more comfortable as you move forward. But again, you don't need comfort. You just need knowledge that the strategies you're using are going to work for you. That's more important than even the comfort. But I get what you're saying. And we'll talk about that Wednesday. We should talk about that. Oh, what's up, Tammy? There's so much information out there. You don't know what to believe. Oh, for sure. For sure. I'll tell you what to believe. None of it. It's all bullshit. I kind of mean that because basically, like, there is so much information out there. But like, I've been confused a lot. And I know, like, I'm at my goal weight and I have a system that works for me. So obviously I'm not going to be at the mercy of that so much, By the way, the food industry is responsible for almost all that shit. They just put study out after study because a confused mind is a stuck mind that doesn't do anything. So they want you confused. The more confused you are, the less likely you are to do anything different. But yeah, there's so much information. People always tell me like Instagram now. And it's hard to say, like, it's hard to believe that keto doesn't work when you see your friend lost 20 pounds on it last month. You go on Instagram and everyone's ripped up and seemingly in amazing shape and they're all saying keto. So I can see how that's very confusing. I always joke. I got this in one of my presentations, but I got a picture of me. Like I'm as those people that lift a lot of weights like to say I'm skinny fat, to some degree. So I'm not like ripped up with muscles, but I'm also, I have relatively low body fat, but I'm at my goal weight, but I don't lift a lot of weights. So they don't like my physique, but I feel like you all should be following me because you're more like me probably than you are like that person you're following on Instagram or TikTok that's all ripped up and working out, 6 hours a day. If I could just push a button, I'd love to look like that. But I'm not that ambitious. I don't want to work out all the time. You probably don't either, so I'm just looking for the easiest way possible. So I will say that, like, in terms of who you're going to listen to about losing weight, make sure that you resonate with their personality. Don't follow David Goggins. If you've been 140 pounds overweight for the last 30 years, I don't think David Goggins is the guy that's going to lead you to the promised land. Just, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You're not that guy. Look for someone who's, more like you. If that makes sense. But it's a challenge. Yeah. Navigating the bullshit out there is a challenge. Why do I always go all or nothing and it never lasts? Oh, Chi-Chi, isn't that the question? The core reason is because you've been hypnotized. Speaking of hypnosis, which I haven't been speaking very much of, but you've been hypnotized by the diet industry and you now think like a dieter, and diets are all or nothing. And they want you, the diets are all owned by the big food companies. Weight Watchers owned by Heinz, Jenny Craig was owned by Nestle, Slim Fast owned by a company that owns Ben and Jerry's. They want you to be all or nothing because it doesn't work. And it ends up usually having you eat even more food. So the reason you keep doing it though is because you have no other alternative. You don't know. If you ask 100 people how to lose weight, they're going to say diet, surgeries, pills. No one's going to say mindset. So what I would suggest to you, Chi-Chi, the first step of stepping off that train is to go to my bio, click the link, watch the video I made for you. As soon as you opt in, I bring you to it. I'd watch that and that'll do it. Yeah. Because what you're saying is what every dieter goes through. How to deal with sugar cravings. Sugar cravings are a challenge because sugar is a addictive substance. So you're not going to like what I'm going to say here, but how do you deal with sugar cravings? That's kind of like saying, how do you deal with cocaine cravings? But it's a little different too, because we're not going to give up sugar completely, but you certainly got to start cutting it down at the very least. And there's a lot of ways to do that. But yeah, you got to start cutting it down because it's an addictive substance. It's like someone's, snorting cocaine and saying, how do I deal with these cravings? These cravings are killing me. You got any tips? Yeah. Yeah. Visualize yourself, having nice, clean nostrils and no drugs in them. That's not going to work. You know what I mean? Like they're overridden by the drug in the system. So it's a little bit like that. Do you think smoothies are a good idea for curbing hunger? Yeah, I like smoothies. I see your name's Jamba Juice Stan. I wouldn't recommend juicing. I think juicing's a silly thing. I'm an anti-juicer, meaning if you give me the option between the juice and the pulp, I'll take the pulp. It's going to be healthier for me. I'm joking, kind of, not really. But I think the fiber is more important. So yeah, I don't like juicing. When it comes to smoothies, I like smoothies a lot more because the fiber is all in there, although it is all blended up. So I did smoothies for many years for breakfast, and it was great. So I loved it. I look at everything on a spectrum, so if you're talking to me about, like, I usually for morning, I start off with a can of Coke and Dunkin' Donuts mocha latte. And you say, what about juicing? I'll say juicing's better. Right. But then you say, like, okay, there's a spectrum. Then you say, what about smoothies though? Or smooth it up. Okay. I think smooth is better than the juicing and the other shit. And then you ask me what's the best. I think whole natural foods that you're chewing up and digesting naturally. I think that's the ultimate ideal. So, but we grade ourselves on a scale, and there's nothing wrong with moving that way. You don't have to just go from here to here, right? That's overwhelming. So that's what I think. Yeah, thanks for the tips, Jim. You're welcome. Yes, they are trans dizzy eyes. I love that. Yeah, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that in my thing. How to change your mindset. Would examples be meditation, self-reflection, words of affirmation? No. Nope. And this is, again, I'm saying no right away because those aren't really in my world, but I'm going to tell you what I think are. And I think this is profound to me because I say this, and I can toot my own horn too, because I always say, like, I do this for free, so my North Star is being honest with you guys. So I'm about to share with you, I believe in my heart. I think when you really look, okay, how do you get a good mindset? I've studied this inside and out. And I always say that, like, the queen of mindset is Carol Dweck. She wrote the book Mindset, and she's the fixed growth mindset person. If you're familiar with that, very popular concept. But I read that book and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I like that for sure. But I'm like, how does someone actually use that in a practical way to lose weight? Because everything for me is how do you master your weight with it? So for me, mindset is really 6 categories. And this is what I take people through the Program Yourself Thin. Program Yourself Thin, we follow the weight mastery pyramid: mindset, lifestyle, eating. And I give you a blueprint and I walk you through filling it out because you got to customize it to yourself. We start with the mindset. Although that's about to shift. I'm going to start with the eating. I already decided. I'm changing all sorts of things. Anyways, so the mindset piece, we start with motivation. Do you know how to motivate yourself? Probably not. Okay. So once you know how to motivate yourself, you're going to be much better off. You're much more the mindset of a thin and healthy person is someone who's naturally motivated to be a thin and healthy person. And that motivation is not, you're thinking of motivation differently than what I mean. You're thinking of motivation as, I don't want to lose weight. I don't want to eat well, but I'm going to force myself to do it. That you're thinking about, basically what you're thinking is motivation. You're thinking is willpower. Okay. It's not. Real motivation is mindset based. As the example of, you're probably a non-smoker, and it's because you're motivated to be a non-smoker, and you're not motivated because you're using willpower to force yourself to not smoke cigarettes. You're motivated to be a non-smoker because when you think about cigarettes, it's gross to you, or there's no appeal to it. Okay. So there's motivation. There's self-image, thinking of yourself, having the identity of a thin and healthy person. There's habits, having the habits of a thin and healthy person that run on near autopilot. There's emotions, knowing how to deal with emotions, feel the emotions you want, deal with the shitty emotions you don't want to feel. There is thinking, literally the thoughts, the questions you ask, how you think about things as a thin and healthy person, and maintenance, how to maintain, how to stay on track when you feel like shit, when you're not motivated. Right. And so these are the 6 things I believe. I think that's how you change your mindset. You break it down in these 6 categories and figure them out. And that's what I help people do in my program. Now, the meditation, self-reflection, and words of affirmation are all things that may help these things. But I think, again, you could meditate yourself, self-reflect, and word of affirmation yourself all day long, and you may not change your mindset at all. So when I broke it down in this way, you'll absolutely change your mindset. So I hope that helps. Actually, I started losing back in January 2020. So it has been over a long period of time with plateaus. Looking back, the plateaus have helped a lot figuring out how to maintain. Yes, that brings me to the point that I always say this. When you hit plateaus, you should use it as an opportunity to practice your maintenance, because the goal here is to maintain. It's not to lose weight. And if you hit a plateau and you freak out because you're not losing weight for a week, that's a bad sign. That's a bad sign that once you get to your goal weight, you're fucked, because what you're doing is you're trading the pleasure of the food for the pleasure of the weight loss coming off. Sorry for everyone on YouTube and all the other Instagram and Facebook. My camera just overheated and turned off. So yeah, great job, Trancy Eyes. That's a big part. How to be consistent if I live with family where North African and daily food is high in calories. Yeah, I mean, again, we all got our challenges, and that's a real challenge for sure. You have to really steep yourself in motivation and create strategies to deal with that. And I know that's a somewhat unsatisfying answer, but go to my bio, click the link, watch, sign up for the hypnosis session, watch the video I give you. How can I stop myself from being hungry? You can't stop yourself from being hungry. Hungry is a good thing. Hunger is letting you know you need some nutrients and calories in your body. The secret is if you want to control and manage your hunger, it's about eating less processed food and more whole natural foods. And more whole natural foods are going to help you manage your hunger in a natural way. I don't have sugar foods in my house. The only way I eat sugar is if I'm out. Yeah, Sue, that's smart. See, I'm the same way. I don't really eat much sugar during the week at all. I'll eat some sugar on the weekend, but you can control it. You're not going to like what I'm going to say. People do cocaine and they do it functionally. People do heroin and they don't become addicts. Most people don't become heroin addicts. I know that's a crazy thought, because we tend to think like everyone that does that is just an absolute full-blown addict, but that's not true. So the reason I say that to you is that, and I'm not saying do those things. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that with the food, especially sugar and carbs, addictive substances, it comes down to managing your addiction. You probably don't want to live a life with no sugar. So there's strategies where you can have sugar sometimes, but not get lost in it. And that's a great example of one of them that Sue just said, to keep it outside of your house and only eat it when you're out. That if you follow that rule and that strategy works for you, you don't have to worry about sugar so much. Okay. Hope that makes sense. What foods would fill me up, but are also low in calories? All the whole natural foods, pretty much. Again, go look up calorie density and then go find low calorie dense foods. Look that up and that'll give you the answer. But it's the basic stuff. It's vegetables, fruits, greens, beans. Pretty much any of those are going to be low calories and fill you up a lot. They're low calorie dense foods. So they take up a lot of space, but they don't have a lot of calories in them. So what makes you feel full is a number of factors. It's not just calories. It's the volume of food. It's the fiber in it. It's the protein in it. It's the nutrients in it, the nutrient variety in it. So there's a lot of different factors that make you feel full. But the more processed food you eat, the hungrier you're going to be. That's what those foods are meant to do, is make you to always be hungry. So, all right, everyone, I'm going to get out of here. Again, if you have not gotten my hypnosis session, go to my bio, click that link, get the hypnosis session, watch the video, read the emails, and listen to the podcast. The podcast is Program Yourself In. It's on all the podcast platforms, and make one every weekday. So thank you so much, guys. Have a super day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.